Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Queen's Curry Kitchen. I know I've been missing for a while, but trust me, I have missed you as well, as much as you have missed me. But thank you for joining me today. We are making something from Pantry Essentials, so that series definitely continues. I am down to 2 tomatoes in my pantry and maybe a handful of onions. I do have some potatoes. So the dish that I'm making involves no tomatoes, no onions, no chopping, no sauteing. I mean, a little sauteing, but you don't need a whole lot of ingredients, fresh ingredients or produce to make this dish. That's hot and happening. The name of the dish is pindi chole, and it comes from Pakistan. So if you don't know a little bit of the history, let me give you a quick recap. So before the year 1947, India and Pakistan used to be one country, and there was a city in Pakistan called Rawalpindi, and these chole, or the chickpea recipe that I'm about to make, was actually a very popular street food back then. And it was a popular culture that at the time of breakfast, and you know, that region of India is really known for heavy breakfasts because people used to go and work out in the fields. So they would eat a very hearty and heavy breakfast, not necessarily too many eggs or non-vegetarian food, but a lot of vegetarian hearty breakfasts made with ghee and whatnot. So this chole was actually a part of that culture, and people would come early in the morning to the street shops, and they would bring in their little steel containers, you know, the little stainless steel containers, and they would buy the chole, and the accompanying bread was actually called bhature, which is a leavened bread, which is pretty much like the Guyanese doubles that you might be aware of. I have done a bhature making video from pizza dough that I've made in one of the earlier live sessions. If you'd like a recap, you can always tell me and I'll be happy to do it for you. But today I'm going to not do the fried version. I will do a skillet top version, which is called kulche. So we will be doing pindi chole and kulche, which is, if you ask any Punjabi who belongs to that part of the world, it is a match made in heaven. Yes, and a quick introduction. Hi, my name is Nupur, and I am the owner of Queen's Curry Kitchen. I have a little kitchen in Queens where I make curry. It doesn't get any easier than that, right? All right, so quickly let me familiarize you with the ingredients. Of course, we need chickpeas. I have used dry chickpeas from the dry goods store, and I've soaked 3 cups of chickpeas overnight and then boiled them in my Instapot. When I boiled it, I added salt, I added a pinch of baking soda, and I also added some tea, like black tea bag. And what that does is it not only gives the chole its characteristic dark color, but it also helps to break up the chickpeas because the tannin in the tea and the baking soda have a chemical reaction which helps to open up the chickpeas, and so it's able to absorb a lot of the moisture, and a lot of the flavors that are going to get built up are easily able to penetrate into the nucleus of the chickpea. So when you bite into it, it's completely flavorful. That's right, Mr. Aman, you got it. Alkaline and acid, that is the trick to getting the perfect chole. And of course, the dark color is very characteristic. We will also be adding some dry mango powder to this dish, which will make it an even darker color, and it's just really enticing. And when you walk past these kind of stalls that are making these things, these chole is simmering all morning long, and the aroma is just absolutely unbelievable. All right, so without any further ado, let me quickly familiarize you with the ingredients. Of course, I told you about the 3 cups of chickpeas that I used. If you don't have dry chickpeas, you can always use a can, but because this recipe uses very few fresh ingredients, I would strongly encourage you to use the dry beans because it will actually enhance the flavor of your pindi chole. All right, so we are going to be using some seeds and herbs to enhance the flavor. The first thing that is going to go in is carom seeds, which is also called ajwain. I don't know if you can see ajwain. I'm also using cumin seeds. This is about 2.5 teaspoons. Ajwain is a little less, so the pronounced flavor that you get in this is of the cumin seeds and the coriander powder. Those are the 2 pronounced flavors that you get, and that is combined with the tartness of the dry mango powder. So proportionately, that's what we're going for. There's also going to be some black pepper. I'm using a little piece of cinnamon, a few pieces of cloves, and 1 black cardamom. If you don't have this, you can totally skip it. If you have a good quality garam masala, you can always use that. I will be also adding 1 bay leaf. This is 3 teaspoons of coriander powder. Among the dry herbs, we will be adding fresh fenugreek, which is also called kasuri methi, and just try to crush it between your hands before you add it to your pot. From the fresh ingredients, I have nothing left. I have no tomatoes. I may barely have a few onions, but this recipe is great because it only calls for ginger. And I'm using these long hot peppers that are the mirchi that we use to make pakoras. But if you have jalapenos, if you have serrano peppers, if you have Thai chilies, whatever is the level of heat that you enjoy, feel free to use that. So all of this ginger is about this big of a knob of ginger that I've used, and I've cut it into juliennes. Okay, and to make this, I'm going to use a little tiny pan. It's called a tadka pan. Oops, sorry about that. It's called a tadka pan or a tempering pan, and I'm gonna set that to high heat. I will be making this in ghee, but if you're vegan and you don't do ghee, you can make this in vegan butter. You can also make it with coconut oil. The ghee actually adds a nice dimension of flavor and keeps it really authentic, and that's how it's actually made. But if you want to use light olive oil or whatever oil that you have at home, just use that. It's totally fine. Okay, so let me also show you what the dry mango powder looks like. So it's easily available in Indian grocery stores, and it looks like that. It says amchur powder, and then below that it says dry mango powder. So if you ever get a chance to go to an Indian grocery store, this is the thing that gives your chole the tang. No, this is the tang that gives it the tang. I think I'm really bugging out. All right, so this is the thing that gives it that nice tart tang to your chickpea curry. If you don't have this, which if you're not Indian, chances are that you probably won't have this in your pantry, you can use the blackened limes that you get, you know, the lemons, the dry lemons that you get in the Middle Eastern stores. You can also use lemon juice after you've removed this from the stove, and then sprinkle it with lemon juice just before serving. You can use a little sumac, you can use a little tamarind, whatever souring agent that you have at home, you can use that. So this is not, I mean, at this time I can't even say that, oh, you know, go get it and then only you can make my recipe. No, this is the time when we're all in lockdown. We have to make the most of whatever resources we have right now. Okay, so without any further ado, let me flip the camera and let me show you how the tempering process goes. We are about to, all right, see what's going on. Okay, so tempering pan is nice. We'll add some ghee. Sorry. Okay, so this is what my chickpeas look like right now. They have been boiled. I've put it on the bean setting and I've boiled it from there. So I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit. A lot of times what people do is actually sprinkle all their dry spices on top and then put the hot tempering. That's also one way that I've done it before. But when I'm making the tempering with these ginger juliennes, I prefer to use it right from the pan onto the chole. Okay, so the first thing that goes in is the cumin seeds. Now, if you've been watching my videos, you know that I love cumin seeds. I put cumin in everything. Okay, I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit. You can use a wider pan. The only problem is all my wider pans were basically just black from the inside, and that would have really not made it easy for you to see what's going on. So I just had to choose this one, which is at least a light color so you can see what's going on. Okay, I am going to now add the bay leaf. You can break it in half if you want to. And listen, if you're missing an ingredient or two, don't sweat it. Just still try to make the recipe. This is not the time where you can fuss over what you have or what you don't have and then be like, oh, well, I can't make it. Well, if you're already bored of eating the same old, this might bring that whiff of fresh air to your menu, and especially when ingredients are running out. I think we're all getting there. We haven't. I have not left my house in 23 days, and I don't have a lot of the fresh produce. Okay, so to this, the carom seeds are going in right now. You just have to slightly infuse the oil with all these seeds. You're not trying to burn anything. You're not trying to So I'm actually going to just control the heat a little bit here. Give it a quick shush. You see how it's sizzling? I hope you can hear it. Now in go the onions. Ha! Onions in my dreams. In goes the ginger. No onions, baby. That was a long time ago when we had them around. Hello, is it me you're looking for? Of course you are. I know I was gone for a long time because I was very, very, very sick. But you know what? The more I lay in bed and the more I thought about what my purpose in life was, the more convinced I was that I need to be here with my lovelies, making some food and bringing smile to everybody's lips. So that's the thing that actually made me get up and be like, all right, I want to be well and I want to be doing the things that I enjoy, which is sharing my passions with you. And if you feel like anybody that you know is in lockdown and can benefit from a quick, easy recipe, feel free to share this video on your page, or you can click on the watch party link on your Facebook feed and start a watch party with your friends. So they can all be watching this, right? Okay, so we're not trying to burn the onions. We're just trying to give it a little bit of texture and then curl up the sides. That's pretty much the idea. Let me show you what the chickpeas actually look like while that's happening. Let me give you a quick peek. So they're not incredibly dark, but see how well cooked they are. And they're ready to go. A lot of people actually take out some of the chickpeas and mash them in a bowl so that the base of the gravy will be kind of thick, and it'll be, since there's no onions or tomatoes, they still want it to be a nice gravy, which is easy to scoop up in a kulcha or a bhatura. They take out some of these chole and mash with a potato masher so that they can get body to their curry. Okay, so the ginger is coming along beautifully. If only you could see this thing. Oh my God, I have lost a lot of after my sickness, but I kid you not, the frying of the ginger, it really is opening up a lot of my passages. So I do appreciate it, even though I'm not in my full glory when it comes to sense of smell and taste. I'm gonna add just a half of the green chilies, not too many. I will save some for the end. So we'll have some fried ones that'll infuse into the oil, and then we'll have a few more that we will use as a top garnish. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and add my black pepper. If you don't have the cloves or the cinnamon, you can always use powdered versions of those. If you have nothing and you have pumpkin pie spice in your home, just use that. I promise you it's gonna taste good. Okay, you can see the ginger is nicely wisping up. Okay, now I'm gonna go in and add the other major flavor enhancer of this dish, which is the coriander powder. I grind my own coriander powder from coriander seeds. And if you have ordered any of my products from my website, queenscurrykitchen.com, you know that they're always fresh and made in small batches. So if you're familiar with our products, give us a shout out. Now I'm gonna add some paprika powder, and I'm gonna give you a cool trick. So this paprika powder is really more for color than for heat. And whenever you add paprika powder of your dishes, always add a little splash of water. Yep, that's the trick to extracting all the beautiful color from here and also preventing it from burning so that it doesn't dish black. Recipe but for any recipe, whenever you're using paprika powder, of water and then remove it from the heat so that all the color can be extracted from the powder. Setting it back up there, and I'm going to add in my final herb, my dry fenugreek leaves. You can see the tempering or the tadka is simmering. I'm gonna add a little more water You can actually even add the water from this pot like that, right? Yeah, make the most of it. And last, chickpea curry will still taste pretty darn good, I promise you. Okay, so now we have this thing going and it's simmering. That means the water is perfectly cooked, the spices are well cooked. So now I'm gonna take this, and my final ingredient to add the tartness, remember the dry mango powder that we spoke about? Now is the time to add that, and I'm going to add just 1.5 spoons full of it. If I feel like I need to add more tartness, I will consider it, but for now I think this should be it. You don't want to overcook the spices. Oh my god, the aromas that are coming out of here are absolutely incredible. If only you could be here in this kitchen right now. Okay, now for the final step. Boom, in it goes. And I'm going to let that simmer. I will turn down the heat and I will get a rubber spatula to scrape it out. So whenever you have something that you want to really clean out, always use a rubber spatula. It just makes sure that there is nothing wasted. Okay, so that's that. I'm gonna give this a quick stir. And I will allow it to simmer. I will take the back of my ladle and mash it against the wall of my pressure cooker, just so I can create some body into the gravy. If you want, you can add a peeled potato when you're boiling your chickpeas, so that way you can mash the potatoes and create that thickness of the gravy. That's possible too. It's a very common trick that street vendors use to stretch their dollars. Well, not dollars, rupees. Dollars. Yeah, they do that to economize on whatever they're making, because once they add the potato, it's easy to bulk up the dish. Just for salt and see if it needs anything. And I'm going to set it to sear mode, which means that it's going to keep bubbling and thickening, and I'll put a cover on it so that you'll be able to see how it looks at the end. Now I'm going to add all the remaining green chilies that I had. In the meantime, I'm also going to heat the pan to make the kulche. All right, so this is going to be simmering away. You can see the color is really good. I'm going to add a little of salt because I feel like it could use a little more. If you don't want to put salt, you can also put chaat masala. Tastes really good. And I'm going to simmer this. Whatever I'm doing in this electric cooker, you can always do it on your stovetop. Pretty much it does the same thing. It's just a matter of a different piece of equipment that you're using. Okay, now coming to our next recipe, which is the kulche, which is actually the flatbread that accompanies these chole. And yay. Okay, so here I have the dough that I prepared, and I prepared this 4 hours ago. So this is 2 cups of all-purpose flour, to which I added 1 tablespoon of rapid rise yeast. If you don't have rapid rise, you can use the instant one. You can use whatever kind of yeast you have. If you don't have yeast at all, then you can just make the dough by using yogurt and baking soda, and then set it somewhere. So this actually became thick, and I punched it back down, and this is my dough. I added some sugar and some salt to the dough, and then I kneaded it till it was sticky, and then I left it in a bowl, and I covered it with a tea towel and stuck it in my microwave for 4 hours, and then it was this big, and I punched it out. So that's the dough that's ready to go. So we're not doing the fried version. We are actually doing the skillet top roasted version of the bread, which is called a kulcha. And I'm gonna have to get some ghee or oil on my hands. So I actually made a ball, and then you have to let this ball rest for a bit. You can't like instantly start making these. Okay, so the other thing that we're going to need is some good old water, and I'm going to use some Nigella seeds or kalonji seeds as they're called in Hindi, to add as garnish for these little babies to eat their brunch. I also am going to need, okay, it just keeps beeping and that's so annoying. I'm also going to dry flour just to dredge this a little bit. That's it, not too much. And these kulchas are actually rolled out a little bit thicker than rotis. We're going to start doing just that. And you elastic. Be very gentle with it. If Eastern food, try to make pitas at home, this is literally the dough that you will use to make your pita bread. Pretty much the same thing. You can make your own falafel balls with the chickpea, make pita. You can make pizza with this dough. So 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of yeast, 1 tablespoon of sugar and salt to taste, and a little olive oil and water to knead the dough together and then allow it to rise. Easy as pie.